This is the Crash Canon podcast. I am the host, Chris. I have yet another very cool guest here with me today, author of She Danced Me a Story. Jeremiah, why don't you tell everybody who you are?
I'm Jeremiah Bannister. I am the creator and host of Paleocrat Diaries, and I actually wrote a vision statement recently because I have all these visions, but not a statement. And so I finally did, and I said that we are the most exciting, inspirational, and uniquely educational Catholic material, Catholic apologetic apostolate in the world, if I could say so, and that we have a reliable method of education that emphasizes accessibility, relatability, and action, and that we have restitched an ancient and invincible apologetic methodology, as well as a theology of place, of life and leisure, and lastly, a realistic media ecology that balances digital and analog artisanship. And so from that flows the social theory. And so we do it all for the Johnny Q and the Sally Sue. And so that's what I'm doing. That's who I am.
A very quick explanation of what paleocrat means?
Yes. So paleocrat is the source of tremendous confusion, in fact. And everybody always asks, like, the paleo diet. I had a lady at church, man. She was there just this last Sunday, really nice, 80-year-old woman and stuff, talking to me about apologetics. And she's like, paleocrat, is that like the paleo diet? I'm like, dude, I existed before that got popular. Come on. So, no, it's a moniker that I put together at the beginning of the internet age. You could put together any kind of idea you wanted for nicknames and all that. And I created this word, smashing together Greek and Latin, that is inspired by Jeremiah 6:16, talking about searching for the ancient path and to walk in it, and that we are at a crossroads. And so that name and that word means ancient authority or old rule. And so it's hearkening back to that ancient path at the crossroad. And so that's been what it is. Plus, I kind of felt like I needed to do it because at the time, you had the war going on, just starting Afghanistan, and just starting Iraq. And paleoconservatives were kind of coming about in a big way because of they had a magazine they would come out, the American Conservative.
Yeah,
AmCon Mag.
I've heard of that.
And so AmCon Mag and all that. So you start studying paleoconservatives, and I'll tell you, man, a bunch of them buggers are racist. And I'm like, bro, like, I'm in an interracial marriage, dude. I'm cranking out, interracial babies and stuff. So I said, how can I maintain that idea of the ancient and the democracy of the dead? And so I came up with paleocrat. So it kind of is fusing both religious and political concepts.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would not have thought to put those two together, because the paleo diet obviously is the most famous paleo related item.
I know, or paleontology, man. It's even more than paleontology. More people will say paleo diet than, oh, you're into paleontology? I don't think I've ever had anybody ask me that. Even if I'm wearing like suits and a tie and I'm, whatever, and looking all dapper and such. I've never had somebody come up and say, oh, paleocrat, like paleontology. Although I had someone mention paleocraft, and I didn't realize, man, there's like a Minecraft genre of these dinosaurs.
Paleocraft?
Yeah. And I'm like, no. I'm like, this is hot trash. No. And so I've had to battle for it. I almost got rid of it to change it to Reaching People Ministries Incorporated. And we batted it around, RPM Ministries. We thought it'd kind of blend with the energy of the apostolate and stuff. But all the guys that work along with me, they're like, look, Jeremiah, for better or worse, dude, people know you're just the paleocrat. That's just what it is. And so you're the one and the only in that world like that. And so just keep it and let's just make it real big. And I said, well, we got to get on Crash Canon.
Yeah, that'll get you there real quick.
Man.
Absolutely. Actually, there's a running joke. I'm not gonna. They keep jokingly calling it the Crash Cannon list because I've had a few. This is not like a common theme, so don't be assuming that this is a bad thing. But we've had several people that have come on and done an interview, and then like a couple months later got canceled off the internet. So I'm like, what the heck?
The dude's getting canceled. Who'd you get canceled, man?
No, I didn't get them canceled. They canceled.
That's what you say.
They got themselves canceled, but it's a joke among some friends of mine.
Yeah, well, that's a bummer, bro. I'll be honest, man. I have had for the last 20 years, 25 years, I have had about a bazillion people try to cancel me. And I'm bulletproof, bro. Like I just am. I've had all these people politically, religiously, and it ain't happening. And so, maybe it's my PR prowess. I'm not sure. But no matter what, it seems like we've done really good. And regardless of the hatred factor, we're able to turn that kind of like, and it sounds goofy, but like Eminem at the end of 8 Mile. It's a trash movie. It is. It's so terrible.
It is. No, you're not wrong.
It's terrible, man. Eminem's just like this quiet dude, all emo and stuff. But at the end, he takes all the criticism that could possibly come at him, and he puts that into what he's saying in this rap battle, and leaving the other people with nothing to stand on. And so I've learned to do similar things, and that's resulted in my opponent saying that I'm like a cult leader, that everybody believes what I'm saying like gospel. It's the paleo crap bandwagon. I've heard it all. So,
honestly, the best thing people can do if they don't want to get canceled, one, don't have extramarital affairs. That's number one. Don't do that. Yeah. But two, just be stubbornly you. Like, don't let anybody tweak you from the outside looking in, right? I mean, obviously, if you're doing something bad and you're self-improving, fine, go ahead, do that thing. But I think being yourself is the easiest way to avoid cancellation.
Yeah, and it's hard for people. It's hard for people to be themselves, because we're looking into a camera.
Yeah,
and that's just not normal, right? We're recording, hearing ourselves in the loop, and it kind of is a playback loop, so that you can hear, the way we end sentences or the pauses or whatever. And but yeah, I've tried. Somebody actually posted a comment about that under the interview I had recently on Dr. Scott Hahn's program, and they said that Jeremiah's the best Catholic personality actor without acting, right? Like that he comes across theatrically, and it's just him cranked up to 11 or whatever. That's all it is.
Yeah. I have to say you have one of the most entertaining personalities I've listened to in the Catholic space. So I got to hand it to you there. I don't think I've tuned into something that you put out that wasn't at least remotely entertaining.
Yeah, I don't bore people normally, right? I do many different things. People will say like, man, I don't know how you do it. You make me cry and you make me laugh and then you make me think and then I want to, bash your head against the wall, right? Curb stomp you. And I don't know how you do that, but I've yet ever to hear somebody say, dude, you just really bored me. I was just really bored. And it's, I think, the best compliment I ever got about that side of the show, right? The theatrical stuff was during COVID. And, oh man, my stupid phone. During COVID. And, I did the first 45 minutes of the show was like meme reviews, and I'd go and look at weird stories. I talked about this conspiracy about the Great Animal Uprising of 2020, how animals were joining together to take it over. And it was a lot of fun. People, tuning in for the first time. Someone would listen, and their parents in the other room, and they're like, "Is that guy crazy?" I'm like, "What's wrong with that guy?" But one day, there was a lady in the chat, and I was just going nuts. And there's a lady in the chat that said that she loved tuning in every single day. She was a nanny. And she loved tuning in every single day while she walked around with these kids and stuff, because my humor made her laugh really hard, and it always reminded her of her brother. Her name is Barbara Farley. And I just jokingly said, "You like Chris Farley?" And she said, "Yes, that's my brother." Dude, it's true. I have all of these. We become friends. She became a part of the intro to the show. I have all these pictures and backstories, dude, of of Chris and his family and everything, man. Stuff that hasn't been publicized or hasn't been shared. So that was, I mean, that's a huge compliment. Like, I grew up in that era. He was kind of a hero and stuff, comedically, and so that was,
Be living in a van down by the river.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, well, by the river, more like by the lake, because you were in Michigan for how long?
Oh, dude, I was born and raised there.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so I've actually lived all over the place. I lived in Pennsylvania, other than Michigan, other than Pennsylvania, Connecticut when I was in the Navy, New Jersey when I worked as a chief aide to a lobbyist in New Jersey, and it's associate youth pastor, right? That wrote all of the sermons and led the worship and stuff. I lived in Dallas, Texas. I lived right outside Chicago in Illinois. I lived in about 40 minutes from the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, and then Vancouver, Canada. And so those are places, and numerous places in Michigan. You know, most recently, I was born and raised in Battle Creek, and that's where you have Kellogg's and Post.
Yeah.
Right? And so now it's kind of like the meth capital and heroin capital of Michigan.
I don't know. The southern border is pretty bad too. I've talked to some judges. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on down there.
And so we were raised there, and then I moved after college. I moved to a small town called Dorr, which is mentioned in the book, where the roller rink was, which is one of my favorite first paragraphs in the chapter in the whole book that we'll talk about soon. But and then I moved to Grand Rapids. And that, during my time there, that's when I was on radio for quite a while. It was 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. I did that too during COVID online. So it was like 25 different channels and pages and groups and stuff. But and that's when I was falling away from God, and when my daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer.
Yeah, because I was thinking about how you like this book in general, because my oldest child is 9 years old, and I cannot imagine finding that news out like you guys did. I really can't.
Well, it's crazy because you read the book, so in a weird way, you can only say that.
Yeah.
You have imagined.
Oh, yes, I have imagined.
And that's why I did
the
it.
The problem is I have children that are close to that age. Yeah. And so like when I imagine that, I just like my brain's like
you recoil.
Yes.
It's like, I mentioned in the book, it's kind of a weird moment where, we're there, we still don't know exactly what's going on. We haven't got the MRI or anything. And I see this poster, and it's bragging it up about this amazing children's hospital, and it is Ellen DeVos Children's Hospital, one of the best in the country. And in 3 different areas, urology, nephrology maybe, and cancer. And when I read that, it was so far from my mind, even though I'd already put certain things together that it was in the brain, that idea, I recoiled so much from it that I could only think how grateful people must be, how dreadful that would be. But I didn't even think of it as like, oh, it could possibly come, in our house and with my child. So you do, man. It's natural, especially as a dad, dude. You recoil from even the thought, because dads are not supposed to be burying their kids, man.
No, I mean, sadly, I know quite a few people that have done that, which not my age, generally speaking, but people that outlive their kids mostly due to unhealthy lifestyles, not due to cancer. So I've seen a little bit of it, but I can't imagine at that age, not at that age.
Dr. Bergsma of the St. Paul Center here in Steubenville.
Right.
He's kind of like the second in command over there, right? He's a genius, a really cool guy. Yeah. He has a copy of the book. Strangely, it's a weird story. I don't need to tell it here, but it's very strange about how I brought it in and how I said to give it to him, to the lady in the front, and she's like, "Do you know?" I had no idea that his son had cancer. I had no clue. And I didn't know how far along it was when I gave them the book. I gave them 2 copies, and one I said was for him. And I don't even know why I said it. I have no idea. And she asked me, should he read it before or, after? And again, I didn't know. And I said before. And she asked me why.
Yeah.
She kind of stunned. I said, why would you say that? I said, because heaven forbid if his kid ever passes away, I don't care how prayed up you are going to be in a dark place. You're going to be wrestling with God, man, because you're not supposed to bury your kids. And I said,
Right.
he's going to grapple, and prayerfully, God will leave him with a limp, right? And he will be quite glad. But he did that with the Lord, because, and it was a matter of like 5 days later at youth group where we go to church. The youth leader stopped it. One of the youth leaders stopped it and said that there's this young boy named Francis. I didn't even know his name, but when she said that, dude, it was weird. Like I knew, like it was, and I don't even know where I pieced it together, but I just knew. And she said, he was Dr. Bergsma's son. And I turned my face because it's youth group, bro. I'm the old man in the back. And I'm just like, I'm bawling my brains out trying to hide my face. And my daughter, like stunned, she like looked really fast because she knew that I brought that book in. And, so, it's sad to know people whose kids have gone through that and other stuff. I mean, other people who've lost children, even in the YouTube space, we're talking about, you got Ryan Grant, he's one. Kennedy Hall, he's one.
Yep.
Right. And so Tim Flanders, dude. And
I didn't know he did.
Oh, bro, more than one. And his wife on the back cover, she made that. So I wrote the descriptions and stuff, but that whole back cover to my book is hers. And it's weird because I called, I just really felt like I needed to ask her to do it. We're close with the family. And right there, she designed all that, laid it out. It's really, really beautiful, really fun. And I called her and I said, hey, I know you're into like design and stuff. Would you be willing to do this, And she just froze and she's like, you just thought of me? I said, yeah, I just thought maybe you'd like to do that. And she said, do you know what today is? And I said, no. She said, it's the anniversary of my child's passing, when we buried our child. And it was just, and I said, well, maybe this can be kind of like Abraham's axe, where Abraham woke up early in the morning. He didn't have to. He had tons of slaves, dude. He had all these bondservants all over the place. Dude's mega wealthy. But he ends up waking up at the crack of dawn. And you go, yeah, because you're going to be sacrificing that kid. You're in a different world. And that I've always imagined, with the help of a sermon by R.C. Sproul, actually, that axe was the instrument through which Abraham was letting out that thing. And I said, maybe this back cover in your artistry is Abraham's axe. And she's just bawling, dude. She made that, and it was just so powerful. But yeah, I was actually at one of the funerals, and it was one of the most saintly things I've ever seen, actually. Not just the funeral, but also when they buried the child. It was saintly, but obviously devastating.
Yeah. I honestly, if you hadn't included that line about the police ticketing the hearse, I don't know how I would have got through that chapter.
Yeah. It's a brutal one. You're talking about the chapter that's literally her funeral. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a wild scene. And it's interesting because when we walked her through the back door and entered, that was something I proposed, because this church is gigantic. It's a historical place. All these people spoke there, and extremely popular people, and debates, very important debates in history and stuff. But it's run now by people who don't really believe in miracles and all this. Maybe Jesus didn't even raise from the dead type stuff.
Yeah.
But the facility itself is unreal. It's historic. And I told him, I said, I want the casket to come back from the back to go down the aisle. And he thought that was a very antiquated idea. And I said, well, people will stand. And he goes, no. He said, I don't understand why, people would understand to do that. And he kept pushing back. And I said, dude, we're going to do that. And so we did. And there's a video, and people can watch that video, man. That thing comes in, and dude, everybody to their feet. Right. It was a crazy scene. And, you know, I probably looked weird because I raised my hand in the air like it was just like, yes, I knew this. It was just so profound. And that pastor had to be sitting there. Pastor, you know, I guess.
Yeah.
Had to be feeling a little bit strange. But that, yeah, the hearse, dude, it's crazy because before all that happened, I'm like having a panic attack, dude. I had to get away from people. There's a bazillion people all over the place. They're all coming up and they're all weeping and telling me, you know, things that are making me even more sad. I'm like, stop. So I flee and I get out there outside trying to take a breath, you know, and there's all these people outside and they're all screaming. I'm like, dude, this is worse. This is worse than inside. It's like a mosh pit out here. And at the center of it was a traffic cop guy, right, going down, giving tickets. And he was ticketing Samantha's hearse, my daughter's hearse.
Like, what kind of a person does that?
Well, he did. What kind of a person not only does it, but the people were yelling and saying, this is the third time. They were all admitting, we take it, we just rip it up. They're like, look, we rip it up. I'm like, don't say like,
right? Yeah, don't say that.
Yeah, be cautious, guys.
The guy's already ticketing the hearse. He might go further.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going for you now. You're the one. So I asked him kindly, like a little bit baffled, and I said, are you really ticketing my daughter's hearse? And he looks at me, and I said, her body's right in there. She's 12. She died of cancer. This is her funeral. And he straight up looks at me like this and goes, dude, everybody flipping out. And I was right. I told him, I said, he will be the most hated man in town by the end of the evening. Facebook said 97,000 people talking about this right now.
Oh my.
Bro, the city council put out a public statement about it. All of them signing on to it. The Treasury Department, said all of the tickets that day in that whole area, bro, everybody got a free pass because of Samantha. And the commissioners, the police department said that it was a new hire and that he used very bad judgment. That was on the news, man. Everybody's going nuts. And so I didn't have to do anything. You know, she had an army of supporters. It was like 400 people in my house in about the last 2 days of her life, and she was in a coma. So it was another level, man.
Can I just say that the your, we'll call them vision quests in the middle of your story?
Yeah.
I've had vivid things happen to me like that. I could completely relate to what was going on when you're talking about things melting away, seeing things that only appear later. I've been there. I know what that feels like. It was so. I've never heard other people actually that I've seen or heard talk about this other than like saints where this stuff has happened to them. What is that like for you?
So I am not a saint.
No, I know that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the only people I hear visions like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So people have asked me. So for example, Whitney Flanders and I, one of the things that was, I think, for me anyway, one of the more moving moments was during that funeral. I was seated away from her. I'm gonna cry, man. I'm like, I can't be around them. I'm gonna be on the other side of the church in a pew somewhere. They're not gonna see me. And I looked up, man, at the crucifix, and there was a part where Father Ron Floyd, he's going back, and it's like I heard this whistling like a child song. It's weird. I'm like, why would he be whistling? And he said he didn't. Later, he's like, I didn't do that. But it sounded like whistling. And I looked up at this huge crucifix that we got. It was a new one that was brought in from Italy and stuff, gigantic. And I looked up, and it was like I could see, and it's not like physical, like I'm right there and I can grab it.
I know what you mean.
But it's like I could see that baby playing with Jesus's beard, and it was like lamb's wool, man. And I thought, I'm just bawling because I said, man, I want to touch his beard. Like I was like, man. And I thought, I am bawling. I have to get out of here. I cannot let Tim and Whitney see me. So as soon as it was over, I reached down, I grabbed my bag, and I stand back up, and she's already all the way across the aisle running toward me. And I look at her and she's like weeping and she's just nodding, yes, yes. And I told her, I said, I don't know what your thoughts are, you know, limbo and stuff. And she's like, I said, I think your baby's, I think he's with Jesus. And I think the baby's with Jesus. And I said, the baby was playing with Jesus' beard. And I was crying. I said, I wanted to. It was like childlike. I felt like a dork. But so in the book, most of those things are true. Even the vision stuff, like
no, I 100% subscribe to the fact that they were at least something like that happened to you, because I've had it happen to me. I know exactly what you were going through, like that, well, not exactly, but I know what with the vision, the melting, that like I've seen these things happen.
So it was the so starting with this one, the fire at the MGM Grand. We're at the MGM Grand for Make-A-Wish, okay? And she was the Make-A-Wish ambassador of the year in Michigan. She was highlighted. She's on the front cover of the magazine for it. It was awesome. We get through that whole event, and there's a scene where the dad that was talking, and it's like it was one of the most brutal moments in my life, other than the death part, you know, and carrying. It was at this Make-A-Wish event where everybody's happy. And there's a man up there and he's talking about his daughter and, you know, what her wish was. And it's really tragic what she was going through. And I look over because I knew where he was sitting and I'm like, I want to see this girl. I look over and bro, she's not there.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? And I looked up and at that moment he said, she never made it to where she wanted her wish. And when he said that, dude, I was so broken. There's no words. And I was terrified because I thought to myself, you know, he's the saddest man in the world. And when he got off, everybody's clapping and they stood up and that man walked along that wall and out the door with his head down. He never looked at the people, nothing. He just walked quietly out the door and left. I know that he was in a room there in the hotel, but he wasn't sticking around. He's going to go up in that room. He's going to bawl his brains out. And so when we went up to the room after awesome stuff, we go up to the room and I go down and there's this weird room, man. I actually used, because there was music, this kind of weird classical sounding music, but because of what I saw in that fire where it's this an old TARDIS made of wood, right? And it was a man who was ancient inside, but he was mysterious. The kids are surrounded by fire and they're not burning. And I didn't understand. I knew deep down inside who that ancient person was. And I was mad about it. And because I wasn't going to stand up like the three boys in the fire.
Right.
I had my pride. The music in that I mentioned, if people look back, that's the music from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Okay.
And so the instruments that are from that, but it was classical music anyway. But the imagery of that, what I experienced looking down into that fire, and so angry, man, my teeth just gritting. I'm so mad, and saying, why is this real? The vision where I jump down, and there's a big pit. And there's this upside down mountain. And that upside down mountain, I came to kind of discover and accept anyway later as being Mount Purgatorio.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's what I was reading in the opening part. I'm reading Mount Purgatorio to the sounds of rain and rolling thunder. This moment in Song of the Sirens on the turntable. So in that moment, in all the symbols that are crashing in on me and stuff, and this idea of what happens to her because she's gone, I can't reach her. That scene where an angel comes up and blows into the western wind, I forget how I described it, and it bounced almost like if you could take a real close-up shot of a record player, and it just kind of bouncing on those lines all around it until it got to my ear and allowed me to accept what was coming. I was going to fight it, but I had to at least accept this idea. And without going into too much about the vision, when I find myself the Godmother's Sacred Heart, that chapter, one of the second to last chapter, that is actually two separate visions that I fused together. One of them was with the smoke all around, the swirling and the smoke, and there's a dome and everything. And we had the asp or the apse, I don't know what it's called, and the golden crown, and where there was smoke and it was violent. That was one. It wasn't long after that I had the other one, because I was kind of in that place too, where there's battle and lightning and thunder and demons and angels and symbols left and right and all this stuff, and somehow she's safe. And the other one, the universe and the stardust and the dancing, those I fused together. But yeah, it's really strange to experience this, and I'll give two more, because this is something that actually came true, and this might be, I think, the first time I've publicly talked about it. People could think I'm crazy. They probably already do. But
listen, I don't tell these stories either because people think I'm crazy. Trust me. I've only told a few people the things that have happened to me.
So I'm willing to dive into this. Okay. So I had a vision 3 years ago, and it was following a particular event where, for whatever reason, I really felt like I needed to call this friend of mine, a mutual friend of my wife. It's a lady, so I'm not being weird. But her name's Kathy. And I called her, and I didn't even know why. But she's Pentecostal, charismatic, so she ain't going to judge me, man. She's not going to say, you're a weirdo. And I'd say if she did, she'd be like, that's why we love you. So I call her, and she's like, you know, what's the call about? I'm so happy to hear from you. And I said, I don't really know. I feel like I'm just supposed to just hear you out. I don't know. And she said, what's going on with you? And there were so many crazy things. Like, she said, I can't even believe the timing of this. There's all of this, blah, 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 blah. And it was like a tornado, a tsunami of crazy in her life. But none of it really made sense to me. And then she mentioned her daughter. She said that, and right away, as soon as she said her daughter, it was this creeping feeling of this impending doom of having to say something godly to this woman it can go weird ways. And she started saying that her daughter was with a guy who was into drugs, and she started doing drugs real heavy. The guy and her were living inside the house. She said, you can't have this. Eventually, the daughter and the boyfriend left. They got rid of the phones. There's no contact at all with this mom, and she's bawling, bro. And she said, I call her friends don't even know, because they're not in that world with her. So her friend, nobody that she knows. So she's crying. She said, I haven't seen my daughter in like a year almost. And I told her, I said, I don't want you to be mad at me, but you should have been praying I said, but your daughter's coming home, and you should have been praying like yesterday. And she's bawling, and it's verifiable. People can contact this lady. And she's like, I accept that, the Lord and everything. And it's kind of weird to talk after that. I mean, what else are you going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of, well, I got to go. So I hung up the phone. I go in, and my wife's making mac and cheese, hot dogs or something crazy. And all of a sudden, the phone rings again. It's not even 5 minutes. We're talking 2 minutes max, maybe. And it's her. So I'm thinking it's like a butt dial. Right? Yeah. So I click on it, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? There is weeping and laughter, exuberant. And they're weeping and they're laughing, and there are two voices. And my friend, the mother, crying over and over, Jeremiah, how did you know? How did you know? Her daughter, after I hung up the phone, her daughter, within like a minute, shows up at the door and knocks and says, Mom, I'm so sorry. My life has gone crazy. I am so sorry for leaving the house. Even if you didn't kind of accept me the same, it's better with you than where I was. And the whole concept, man, was about the prodigal project, literally. So that happened. And then this one, so it gives you context that it's not just simply whatever. The last one I'll say, this was the most transformative. So in my life, in my family, my mother-in-law was in an accident. My wife is one of two children. Her mother is born and raised in Korea. The dad, who we're on much better terms with now, he left the family when my wife was still young, like 12 years old, maybe. So she hadn't seen her dad in a long time. It's only the mom, it's only the brother. The mom and the brother pull out into the street. They get hit by like 16 passenger van or whatever, boom, on the side where the mom was driving. Her head hits the brother, cracks across, he's dead within 12 hours, he's gone. And the mom was in a coma. So Angela basically lived at that, it was days before my birthday. She lived at the hospital for about a month. The doctor said, look, the lights are out, and if she comes back, we don't know what kind of comeback she'll have. Well, she did. She woke up. It was a slow progression, but she was getting better. You'd have to kind of lead her in discussions. When she would talk, sometimes it would mix Korean. She's from Korea. That she would mix Korean and English and get kind of confused. So you had that sort of thing happening, but she was getting stronger, walking around. She's playing games with the other people in the place. And all of a sudden, we get this phone call saying that she had cascaded downward. And that they found her one day, basically no clothes, on the ground, by the bed. And they had to pick her up and put her back on the bed. And she was no longer in her wits. We went and visited a number of times, but there was no yes, no, maybe so, I like that, I don't want that, nothing. Angela had to become the guardian, the estate, taking care of the estate. She took care of everything. They had to sell the home, so all this stuff, legal issues. Eventually, they didn't even bring the mom in, because she's so far gone that couldn't even control the face. Major time spasms and stuff. So Angela, she had a hard time, my wife had a hard time going to visit her mother, because she says, not my mom. She had one major stroke on one side and two minor strokes on the other. I mean, teeth clacking, legs kind of scratching in, not able to control the bowel at all. Very strange sounds, having to get suctioned. She struggled in a way that I did not, because I was raised within a home. As in the story, you learn about this, about how I was raised, with a brother with the car accident.
Right.
So, but I would try to get her to go, and she had a hard time. And one day, I'm in church, and I'm in the back. All of a sudden, I am not there. And I am in a space maybe, where I felt like I was kind of over top of myself and of a scene. Everything's black. My wife is sitting down. It's in a hospital room, and she has Aurelius, our youngest. And then Aurelius knocks, by the way. And then there's a doctor, and he talks to me. I don't hear the words, but I'm at the foot of the bed. And this doctor comes, talks to me, and then vanishes into the dark. And then I look at Angela one more time. I look at the bed. I raise my hands, and I speak in a language I don't know. And it was so loud, it snapped me out, and my hands were on the pew, and I was sweating profusely. I thought I had a seizure. I didn't know what happened to me. So thankfully, strangely enough, the VA was doing MRIs because I have a weird condition called cervical ribs. So they had to do certain things, and they said, "Oh, look, CT scan." Even they said, "No, look, you're no issue in the brain." Said, "You don't actually know. This is a relief for something different." But I had to talk to friends of mine and our priest and say, "What do I do?" Because her mom came back. Like that's the idea is when that happened. She woke up. I snap out, and should I tell my wife? So after, like, I think it's about 3 weeks maybe, I say I need to talk to you in the room, and I go in and I talk to her about it. Said, I don't know what would happen. There's no other info. I have no clue. But she would come back. If you think that I'm crazy, if it doesn't happen, you just say Jeremiah's a nutcase. He's literally insane. And there's a little truth to that. However, 3 months go by. I'm downstairs working on one of the shows. Angela screams down the stairs, "We have to leave right now. My mom is dying." We get in the car. She's driving. She's a freak with that pedal. She's going all over the place. And she's like, "Call this person, call that person." So I'm on the phone calling a bunch of people. So I'm not thinking like, "Oh, we're going to the hospital." Like, zero. We get there. It's chaos in the room. Total chaos. And the mom's in the worst shape in the universe. She's looking like another color. They're talking outside in the hallway at first about, should we, if she goes into cardiac arrest, should we continue or do we want to lay off that? They chose to lay off it. And I'm listening to this thing, whoa. So I go in the room and everybody's going crazy because they can't figure out exactly why she's there. The people at the elder care home, they had like 3 different symptoms that were problematic enough, scary enough that they called the ambulance. In the ambulance, it was mainly 2 other ones, but everything had one vote. There was no overlapping thing. She was in late stage sepsis actually at the time with all of the stuff in the brain messed up. Hadn't said anything in over a year, basically. Everybody's talking about it, and I'm a short guy. So almost everybody's always taller. So I'm behind this wall of nurses and EMTs. All of a sudden, this other person kind of comes behind the wall with me, and he's even shorter. He's a doctor. And he looks at me, and he goes, "Do you even know why she's here?" And I look at him. He leaves. Everybody walks out. I look at the bed. I look at my wife, and she went, like that. I told her, "I can't not do this." I put my hands up in the sky, bro. I said it as loud as humanly possible. I don't know what it was. It was wacky. But I said it as loud. You could hear it. There's no way they couldn't hear it the other side of the hospital. And I felt like I had to because I had to say I really believed this was real. And I could not do that. So she woke up. And she said words. Angela looks at it and goes, "Mom." She's bawling. And her mom's still having issues with the spasms. And I walk up to her. And these charismatic friends of mine in Michigan, they gave me this for no reason. They said I was supposed to have it. It was this oil stuff that was at the most holy face or something. And they said, we want you to have it. So I didn't know what to do. I just put some on her face because her neck was swollen like almost like I don't want to be demeaning. It's like a frog, where it's bulging out, and it was hard as a rock. It was grotesque. She looked very bad, and I put my hand on it, and it was like butter. And Angela at this point is freaking out. She's thinking, "Dude, who are you? What is this?" I'm like, I'm as scared as you are. Like, I don't know. And I got down and I told her, I don't even know why I said this. I said, I'm pretty sure that I'm the last person in all the world that you thought would be here to do this. But I will listen to God, and I'm not Jonah. And I don't know why I said that last part. I'm not Jonah. So she gets so much better over time. It's not right away.
Right.
But in my head, I'm thinking it will be. I'm thinking, oh man, we're gonna revival this thing up. we're gonna go all over. She's gonna tell her testimony. Whoa! Why else would God do that? So, I mean, it was really embarrassing. I had to do a lot, and so she gets so much better. Oh, and that night, by the way, I had a rosary in my hand, and she grabbed it. She hated Catholicism, man. She hated it. Grabbed it, and I said, "That's my rosary." And she looked at me and she nodded and she took it from me. And she looked up toward the sky and she didn't say the words. Like it wasn't the words, but it's the intonations of the words.
Yeah.
The syllable count, the stress on certain, bro, it was the Hail Mary. We both heard it. She would not let go of that rosary. Her favorite thing was listening to the rosary with Pope Benedict as well as Mother Angelica. It was her favorite thing. And when we brought her to the house, because she was doing so much better, she was in a hospice. She graduated hospice, man. She was so much better. She was so much better than before. We figured out yes and no's with her because she was still working on her language skills and stuff. She was able to say yes and no. We did figuring out if she really gets it or not. We asked her, we said, do you want to be Catholic? We said, do you want to go to church with us? And she said, yes. I said, do you want to be Catholic? Yes. Have you been baptized? No. Priest comes over, baptizes her, gives her communion, right? The whole shebang right there at the get-go. Then at the end of her life, she passed. At the end of her life, she has last rites. And I have a video that Tim Flanders sent to me recently. He wasn't sure if he gave it to me, where we're walking out. It was freezing cold. Nobody was supposed to even be driving that day. There was hardly anybody there. Her friends, she didn't have hardly, really, to be quite frank. We never heard her say, my friends and I went somewhere. Zero. Right. Ever. There was like 2 people. And then we walked out, and as the doors opened up, there's about 150 young people from Sacred Heart Academy, and they're singing Marian antiphons. They're singing these beautiful songs. And it was so moving and so powerful. We put them in, and then they're all waiting for me to talk. It was a little awkward. But it's all on camera. But it didn't get all the way better. We didn't go on this big tour. I was upset. This is me throwing myself under the bus, bro. I was mad because I'm thinking, God, why? Why in the world? What is this about? For one, she came into the church. Number 2, never baptized, right? Number 3, everybody that knew her during those last 8 months of her life, every person, hospice people, they'd be bawling every time saying, we never see a family that loves on someone like this. And she's getting better all the time. And it's just such a powerful testimony. They're not Catholic at all. These are just people deeply moved, transformed by this lady. Lady, struggling and all that, in a wheelchair, on her better days and stuff. But seeing all this and being moved by it, I started getting ticked. I said, I'm out. Everybody was kind of taking care of her. I was digging up a bunch of plants. It's in the fall. My sister's dying of breast cancer. She passed during that time. Only a month before my mother-in-law. So, sitting there, and I'm digging and digging, trying to get the emotions out because I'm surrounded by crazy stuff. Well, I had one plant that was a burning bush. My favorite kind of shrub, man.
I got one of those.
Yeah, dude. I bonsai'd that thing so awesome. It looked awesome. And I brought it inside. I had this awesome grow light that made everybody gravitate toward the living room. It was awesome. It was. We were getting vitamins and stuff. So I put it behind my chair. It's this beautiful big thing. And it would be over top of me when I'd talk to people in this chair. I took a lot of pride in that. I came down one day and that bugger was straight up dead all the way. There's no bringing it back. It's yellow, it's brittle. You basically can break it off and it's dust. It was so dreadful. And I was like, why? Why this? And I remember I thought, why would you do this, Lord? Just to witness and lead them to you? And I thought, that's straight Nineveh. That is Nineveh. That is, you're going to preach the gospel and you say, God, why did you do that? Did you have me do that just so these people who we didn't really get along with before, that they're going to come to you, to a saving knowledge of you, and then climbing under a plant where you find, consolation of whatever kind under it, only to have that thing die, and now you're complaining about that. And at the end, I figured it out, man. My wife and my children. She did not go for a long time. She took care of her, changing adult pad stuff, taking care of catheters, taking care of all of these different things that are involved in the final, months of a person's life. I remember watching from another room when it hit me. And her mom's got the rosary and she's looking up at Our Lady of Mount Carmel. We put the statue in there. She's doing her thing. And Angela said, you're doing really good, Mom. You're doing a lot better. We're all really proud of you. And I thought, man, I suck. I am a terrible human. I am a bad man. And Angela said, I think that God made you for me, kind of. I said, well, obviously, you for me, like we're together. She said, I needed this. And she can now live, and not just her, but the children, because they witnessed the love, compassion, sacrifice, diligence, all these things of her mother. And on the flip side, the very terrible falling apart situation of the opposite, of somebody who is not staying the course for the whole thing because didn't get what that person thought was going to happen. And that was never promised in the vision. I'm sorry for taking it so long on that, but that's what happened. And so it came true. There's these weird lessons learned. There's all sorts of conversion, baptism, the Eucharist, last rites, all of these amazing testimonies with people. And it all started in the back of a church in a situation where I thought I was having a seizure. So live with that. It comes when it comes, and you just have to do what God wants you to do. Even if it makes you look like a wacko speaking in some language you don't know in the middle of a hospital,
Yeah, I my visions are not nearly as, we'll say, I don't know, would dramatic be the right word? They're not as complex, I guess. But the first one that ever hit me was, I almost didn't end up with my wife, and God said, turn your car around, go back. And because I went back, everything that happened has happened. It was a very odd, because at the time I was just coming back to my faith really at that time, and God hit me with one of those, if you don't turn around right now and go back to her right now, your whole life is not going to be what it should be. So it was wild. And then, of course, I fessed up. I was afraid to date my wife, because I knew I was going to marry her. So she still laughs at me, because the whole bar was laughing at me when I told her that. It was kind of comical.
But and look at the trajectory of your life following that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Would you say you made a good decision?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, of
the
course,
right decision.
man. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what I would be doing right now if I hadn't followed what God told me to do.
You'd be a wreck.
Probably.
In His grace, you would still be kind, but you wouldn't be complete like you are.
that is an accurate statement. I completely agree with that. I also had a different one where the only person I could think it was St. Joseph. I had this very big fear of something that was coming up, and I'm not going to get too deep into it because it involves some things that I don't want to get into on a live stream. But basically, in this vision where I was praying the rosary and everything melted away, he comes and basically puts his hand on my shoulder and said, "Everything's going to be okay." And I just accepted that. Okay, everything's going to be okay. Hour later, got the call that yes, whatever it was had been resolved. Called multiple people that were affected by the same situation. And I'm happy to tell you what it was privately, but I'm not going to tell you publicly on this live stream. But it was just wild. Everything just resolved that day within an hour. And it was going to be really bad for a lot of people. And then additionally, the last one was election related. It had nothing to do with Trump. It was one of the proposals in Michigan over abortion. And I just had this vision of Jesus and Mary crying over the result. And that was when the abortion stuff all went through and the amendment and all that. That one was tough. I mean, literally it was Mary and Jesus just sobbing. It was awful.
You know, in that moment, what would be the experience? Was it just sad, or did you have fear?
Of Jesus and Mary, or the other ones?
Like a kind of fear, like "Don't come near me, I'm a sinner." And you're faced with the Theotokos and our Lord.
Oh yeah, well, that was something else. I mean, I campaigned hard with my friends and family not to vote yes for that proposal 3 that year. I mean, I went as hard as I could, telling every person I knew not to. I mean, I did everything I could, and it wasn't enough. And so I felt like a failure watching, my Lord and his mother both just sobbing at the state of affairs of Michigan that year. And I don't know what to do with that. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you do with that? But I knew that at that moment that there was no way we had succeeded to keep that proposal out of Michigan. I just knew it.
It was tragic. And,
oh yeah.
There were people there were no pro-life people that came in our neighborhood. But man, we were inundated with people from Planned Parenthood.
I bet.
Tons of them. They'd come. You had all these different volunteers who would come in from different organizations, but all of them were. It was the opposite school of thought, right? The opposite side of the debate, but they were very not only persistent but organized.
Yep.
And stuff. So, but the vision stuff, it's interesting because I don't really get to talk about it that much, especially with somebody who admits aloud that they too have had experiences with things like visions and things like that. I had in the book, and by the way, I don't think we said the name of the book.
Yes, we did. And look, I've got the QR code up here for anybody that wants to.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's right there, bro.
Yeah, I got it.
That's right. She'd asked me a story. It's a delightful tale. It's tragic, obviously, but
plus it's in the thumbnail. I've got it. I'll probably put a link in the pinned comment. We got you covered. Okay.
Yeah. So everybody's gonna know. It's all over the place.
Yes.
So
Crash Canon covered it. We're gonna have like bonker sales now.
No. Dude, it's gonna be a flood of them. I'm gonna get the Crash Canon bump. I had the St. Paul Center one. I had the Scott Hahn one. But the Crash Canon one, I'm going, this is going to be it. And dude, look, God, it's crazy the way that God uses stuff. Sometimes I'll have where God uses somebody that you wouldn't think, relatively speaking.
Right.
But that's the person who connects through that person is someone who reaches out to you with a story that's, devastating or hopeful because of that. So you never know. Right. You can never downplay the people who tune in. If you're there because you feel like that's what God wants you to do, and that you'd be doing it just as much for one person as for 1,000 people or whatever, then your heart's in the right place. And if it's in the right place, the Lord works through that. Because you're being obedient and loving and kind, and you're putting yourself on the line doing that. So, there's a thing in the book where I actually don't talk about this. There's that chapter, Crux at the Crossroad. It's weird. just very lyrical, prosy thing. A lot of symbolism in it. And it tells bits of the story as you go. I did that because I did not feel comfortable writing. It was kind of esoteric, I guess, because I didn't really feel comfortable writing what actually happened, since people would think that this is, there's no way. The movie that I watched in the beginning with her, Darwin's Dangerous Idea, I had to go back and watch that thing to, remember the names and who, what exactly is the quote from the biographer and things like that, so that we could follow the flow of that. When I went back, it was jarring, because she was 10, and Samantha mentions that in the book.
Yep.
She says, that we're like them, I'm 10 years old and she's 10 years old, and you're like Darwin. I said, no. I'm not him. He's a pretty bright guy. So, but we get talking, and I was like that in the idea. This might be good for people to hear, because a lot of people have this idea that, well, he was coming up with evolution and the origin of species and natural selection, and that made him deny God. No, it was his daughter's death. That was it. That was, to him, well, how could a loving God possibly do that? To him, it made more sense that it's just this natural thing, that nature doesn't have a story in mind. So it's kind of mindless. We're just victims of existence and stuff. And so to him, he felt that was an easier way to grapple with it. But if you go back, when I went back, for one, she gets sick when she's 10. She gets sent away, just like we did when we went to Boma. And Papa will take care of you when you come home. She came home, and I was the one taking care of her. When in the movie, and of course it's dramatized. So, I'm not saying that it's all accurate stuff. But he's looking out the window, and he's sad by her deathbed. There's a picture in there where it's got the get well balloons and my face, and I'm looking pretty angry, looking to the side. I was by her deathbed. I'm looking out the window. He's got a silver ribbon, whatever, in his hand. I had a silver ribbon because that's the color of brain cancer. It's like a grayish silver. And I'm rubbing that thing right next to the bed. Then he goes to church. They're wearing dark clothes. People can go and see what I was wearing when we came back. Because obviously I'm not giving anything away. I'm here. Right. So I came back to the Lord, guys. That's part of it. So getting in the car, driving there, I had a cane. In the book, I said it was because I fell at the roller rink. I did fall at the roller rink, and that kind of vision of beneath the glass, seeing what I saw like a ghost and reaching for it, that's all there. But it actually happened with me trying to be white chocolate, because I'm pretty good at basketball. But I was like in my late 30s, man. I was playing against these guys, and I really messed up my back. I landed wrong, and it shifted, man. I just blew it right out. I had to go to the doctor. They had me on, they gave me a shot, medicine and stuff, but I'm walking with a cane at that point. And I admit that I say that in the book where I'm talking to my son. I have a cane. So we get to the church, and in the movie, they get to the church. He's wearing black. He has a cane. He's got his kids. And if I remember, it's 3 kids, if I remember. And they're walking up, and it starts like a crazy, sad day. They get up to the door, and his wife turns around and says, "Charles, please." She reaches his hand out, and it's a really dramatic scene. He kind of looks at her and then puts his head down. And that's when the biographer came in, and you have like the bells and rain. I find myself there. I'm getting out of the car. My kids are faster. I'm always late anyway. But even worse with a cane. And Angela turns around, reaches her hand. She's like, "Please, Jeremiah, we're going to be late." And I'm sitting there, and I look up like this, and there's the bong, bong. And all of a sudden it starts snowing. It wasn't rain, it was snow. And just like that conversation with my daughter, I said, "I'm not him." And I walked inside. And when I went back and looked it up, it was overwhelming. And I said, and nobody would believe that. They'd say, "Dude, you're just setting this up for yourself." Go back. You can see, it was all documented, man. You can go back and look for yourself. And that's why I put pictures in the book, because not only does it help, they're awesome pictures.
Yeah.
But I felt like It didn't help with the cost though. It costs more and it's bigger. People are like, that's huge. You're like, nah, it's smaller than you think. It's a lot of dialogue too. But I put them in there because I wanted people to know this is not fake. This really did happen, right? These things really did occur. And here's proof of this. You can go online and see it. But that's why I wrote that chapter, Crux of the Crossroads. That's why I wrote it that way.
Yeah, I really appreciated the poetry aspect with that. I mean, it was such a different aspect to your writing that didn't really come out before that point. But it was beautiful the way you wrote it.
If I can say this, so the poetry, I'm an award-winning poet. I won award-winning meaning at college. I got a scholarship. It was like $5,000. They asked what my method was at the president's house. They had this big fancy thing. There's journalists there, and I said, I don't. They said, who inspired you? I'm like, I don't read poetry. So I think I had a book by Jewel when I was a kid or something. My parents took it away. She talked about naughty things, you know, in parking lots and stuff. So you can't have that. And they said, well, what's your method? And I'm like, I drink a can of Camo Black Ice and I smoke cloves and I post it to MySpace. I don't know what you're talking about. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did a good job, I guess. So in the book, a lot of it's lyrical. And once people figure out the kind of cadence of it, it flows. There's a kind of cadence that runs throughout the whole thing. In the book, though, I struggled with that because the prose that I was writing, there was a sense of resolve. So, for example, if you said roses are red, violets are blue, I love my wife and she loves me too. That too is a resolve. It gives you a sense of completion. But in the chapter, Beautiful in Blue, where I'm carrying her from her deathbed to the hearse, I couldn't even write that. For over a year, I was paralyzed. There was no way I could touch it.
Right.
Because it spooked me so bad because she was alive, man. I reanimated my daughter. I told the story. She's alive. She's giggling and laughing and crying and all of those experiences. And I had to say it's time, you know, to let her come home to pass. And
it's like experiencing.
So I thought to myself, I said, well, what can I do? So I watched as many videos as people sent as possible. Some were crap, but they were all from people's phones. So it was all different resolutions and stuff. I took those and I was devastated. I mean, I'm watching these terrible things and weeping. Music's playing and there's like a timeline. So I get rid of the dross and stuff. Said, let's get rid of that and let's make this thing. And the one thing I noticed was there's no resting when you're carrying your daughter from her deathbed to a hearse in the road outside your house. You don't take a break and say, hold on, guys, give me a second. Like, there's none of that. You can be trembling. Your arms are done. Your body, you haven't slept in days, and you are going to do it, period. And people opening the doors to help you and stuff. But I said, how can I create that feeling for people? So what I did is I tried the best I could. I'm not as autistic as Dante, but I'm close. I'm on that spectrum, man. I'd like to think, but I'm not writing it in the same language. In our language, in English, it's kind of harder to do this. But English I wrote it clunky. In the rhyme and scheme, and the reason it's clunky is because it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Because the rest in that, it's a weird rhyme scheme. It's like A, B, C, B, C, D.
I just meant in general, like English is a clunky language.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's so many endings that like it makes it tough. And so you had to keep to, he's not super strict about it, but he's got rules kind of, and it's 10 words per line, and it's in tercets. So it's not in 4 or 2, right? Like Ovid. It's in tercets, these triplets. You don't receive that rest until the end of each canto, because you're not resting in hell, man. You're marching on, right? You're getting through that bugger to the next level. And, at the end of each canto, there's kind of this moment of rest thing. And at the very final lines, is when the reader is finally given relief. That poem did not give relief at the end of it. It is probably the single most brutal line of the entire book. It is, I'm just warning everybody, it's dreadful. It is dreadful, but that is the rest. In other words, you're resting like we did when the hearse is gone. You rest in that, but it's hell. It's not rest for your soul when you're an atheist guy whose daughter's, taken away. So the poetry in the book, for people who might have an eye for rhyme schemes and all sorts of, kind of jargon and whatnot, and different ideas pertaining to poetry, I think they would find it kind of fascinating. The way that it played in, even for the songs that I had to rewrite so that I wouldn't get in trouble with copyright law and stuff. I had to rewrite. So there's original songs in the book. There's original pieces. There's original songs because I had to dodge the bullet on some of that, especially with music.
Yeah,
that's
a rough one.
Yep.
My favorite chapter of the book, though, had to be the Doctor Who adventure. Throughout, just all of it, between the downpour with you and your daughter, she's in the wheelchair and you cover her with your jacket when you're freezing cold, but also just like the chaos of the actual Doctor Who museum. It was very I don't know, I really liked it. That was probably one of the highs of the book. Yeah,
I'm glad you said that. You're the first person to bring that up, and that was one of my favorite to write because it stretched me as a writer. I'd never written an eerie scene, and I had to think, how do I create this sense of where it's eerie and nerve-wracking, and you're in a room and you've got these kind of cobweb looking things and there's this fog and smoke kind of going around, and you have these dilapidated robots that are going to be coming after you, and they are the Daleks, and they are super scary. They want to exterminate everything and everybody in the whole universe, but they're all dilapidated, and you don't know, are they alive still? So I had to create that, and the scene where the weeping angels, where the lightning is cracking, and you see these angels as you're walking through this crazy place. So I liked that, and I liked being able to emphasize Athanasius. Because Athen is kind of one of the unsung heroes in the book. He had a particular relationship with Samantha because it was just the two of them for a while. And she was like 2.5 years, 3 years older than him. So she was kind of the leader. He was, everywhere they went together, sort of thing. And later that was true for Teresa and Ambrose later in life and stuff. So he was always defending. I think my favorite part with him, though, isn't even from the Doctor Who part. I think my favorite is the roller skating rink, where the race ends in a certain way. I won't say it. But he looks over at that teenage boy, and he's doing this, and he's like, next time, Samantha. Like he's going to do something to that guy. And I think I said that the teenage boy was looking over at him like, what? What's that little boy doing this for? Kind of thing. But in the Doctor Who chapter, he really shined. And his idea of, I can get this, Samantha, Plus, I had to capture Capaldi's attitude, and he was a snarky bugger, man. That guy, he was a different kind of snarkiness. He's in his own unique way. I benefited, though, because the museum, you were not allowed to bring in cameras. But some awesome person thought, they said cameras and videos. They didn't say audio. So they recorded it. So I think it's exact, man. I think some of the words there are literally exactly what was there because I got it from a YouTube thing. Saying, it's on YouTube. Take it out. Go after that guy. So, but I think that certain parts of that were taken directly from it, and that I like that you mentioned the part about the rain, because dude, that if she got pneumonia, dude, it could have just killed her. Right? She'd be in England, dude. It'd be terrible.
I mean, that would be pretty close to game over.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh yeah. And she was freezing. You could see how cold she was. And I'm in that moment where it is freezing cold, bro. And it's raining, and I'm trying to give her everything I've got and trying to pretend that I'm not cold and that it's okay, that Papa's fat. Like, I'm fat. You don't need to worry about, me being cold. I got layers and stuff. But she knew better. And then on the bridge, it's one of my favorite moments because we were going to be in trouble. I mean, it was midnight. Like that Big Ben, I mean, it was literally midnight. So we're out there on this bridge and we're looking down. The ships were really cool. And I don't know, I really liked writing that part at the end where we're watching as everything is going away as far as until they're out of view, and that the ripples of them being there are also gone. This in light of the conversation where she asks me what if you're wrong? And that was pretty brutal. That was almost like her whispering and kissing an icon of Our Lady of Perpetual Help at the Orthodox Church and not telling me what she whispered forever. She died with that. So, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, man. That was a really good chat. I did not include, however, that we were late. We didn't get to do anything in the Sherlock Museum. She was really mad at me. There was multiple things mad at me. But the Sherlock Holmes Museum, because I wanted to go, and I got Doc Martens. And I was there. They were extremely, overwhelmingly, ridiculously, offensively expensive. But they're only sold there at their main place in London. They don't put even a price tag on it to get you to try them on. They looked awesome. And the lady, I said, these are a little snug. And she goes, oh, this is going to be perfect. It just loosens up. Nope, never. They ended up being too small on me. And I couldn't wear them. My son wears them now. He's, in Grand Canyon University. He wears them. And they're like the coolest Doc Martens that have ever been made. Handcrafted by their top cobblers or whatever. Them buggers. So, and I think I had to get e-liquid back when I was vaping and stuff, and we were late to different things. But not as mad as not realizing that we could have met Matt Smith.
That was another part I was going to say. As a dad, it's just that dad guilt. Like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, and then it messed with Christmas.
Yeah.
But I was boo-hooing myself, and the Angela, it's kind of a prescient moment in a way when she's talking about how upset she is at me, and saying like sometimes you lose to win kind of thing, and you at least were honest about it, and now you got to do the right thing as a dad. It's Christmas time, man, and so it was I'm really glad you brought it up because you're the first person to bring up the Doctor Who experience. And she was such a Whovian that it was really special to her. It was the most special to her.
And I will say this: one thing that I think your book does kind of point out, maybe without seeing it in people's faces, kids don't remember the things you didn't do unless you dwell on it. They remember all the things you did do.
That's good, bro. That is quite excellent because you're right. If you mess up, that's kind of part of life.
Yep.
It's how, as the person they look up to, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with failure? How do you deal with, is it a bump in the road that you skip over and you say, oh man, that sucks, I skidded my knee, but my goal is ahead and I got to keep on marching, my head high and stuff. Is that what it is? Or are you going to trip on it and do the Peter Griffin thing and on the ground forever in a loop? Because if you're that, it's a joke, but it's not a pleasant one if you're the kid.
Right.
So and there's a resilience in the kids, and it's funny because they in the original She Danced Me a Story, which I don't even include in the book. I say that I read it to her. About her and this dancing and stuff. It's not actually ever in the book. It's much shorter than what I wrote. The thing in there is seeing the way that things could have and even should have been. That there's a kind of brilliance to these kids, where I said they condescend to our level. Right? Yeah. Seeing life not just as what it is, but as what it could have been and should have been. And they see that sort of a thing, and they see that in our lives too. I think it's a good observation about that. That it's the could have and should have. So if you make good on the could have and should have, then what actually happened many times, there's some circumstances that's not going to happen. But in most circumstances, it's okay.
Did you see this comment, Jeremiah?
Yes, that's an interesting comment. I know the guy that's doing it. Only one man in the whole wide world. He's a curious fellow, and he wrote a really great review. In fact, he is responsible in part for the editing of the book. And his name is on the back. He wrote one of my favorite snippets that I put on there. And I will retain that, even if other ones, get kind of dropped along the way, to make room, for example, for Scott Hahn. when he read, I mean, it's a big thing. It was awesome even to be an honor to even be interviewed by him. But for him to say that, it's a story of this family, this spiritual journey of this family that's as wild and as zany and as holy as any book people may ever read. I think that's good. I'd like that on the cover. I like that on the front, Dr. Hahn. And so we'll see. I'm actually, I would like, I don't know. He's not going to probably see this. Maybe people are going to send it to him, say, "Hey, look, we're going to get this to you." It would be awesome if I plan on maybe approaching him, or Father Sirico, who gave me the book Enthusiasm and the big yellow book in there. He's also in the chapter. Yeah, you don't have the yellow, dude. Is that a first edition, by the way?
It might be. It's Oxford edition.
So I have the Oxford here.
It might be a first edition. I actually don't know. Now you asked me that.
Yeah. So
no, it's not. No, it's not. This is 12 years after it's published.
Yeah, my wife went all out, and she bought me the first edition of the book. And so, yeah, it's got the original sleeve, the jacket or whatever on it.
Is it blue?
This one it's black, but it may just be like a really dark blue. I'm kind of in a weird lighting.
Yeah, it's either blue or black. It's definitely faded over the years, but it's Oxford. Oxford did it.
This right here is the Big Yellow Book Club. This is
that's
what that is. This is the version, and I'll show you. It's ridiculous. It's all the pages are flying out. There's underlines and words in the margins all over the place. I think I read it 4 different times before I did the series on Enthusiasm. But Father Sirico's in the book. He's the only pastor or priest or cleric of any kind that dared to come into my zone. They all knew who I was, man. Like, dude, that guy, he's an atheist activist dude who's really ticked off about God. And if we just roll up and say, "Would you mind if we pray?" No, they didn't dare do that. But Father Sirico did. Right. He plays a big role at the end too. He plays a big role in my life after that. I will always consider him my confessor forever. He was talking to Cardinal Dolan about the book at the Cardinal's residence, the guy who was there. I don't know how that guy got there. I really don't know him that well. But the dude's like, "You got to tell Father Sirico about your Enthusiasm series." And I said, "What?" He said, yeah, I'm talking to him right now. He's talking about she'd asked me a story. I said, where's that? He's like, it's with Cardinal Dolan. I'm like, what? Dude, he took a picture. I thought,
That's
are you
funny.
serious right now? So yeah, he did. And Father Srico said something really, he's the one who said, welcome home, prodigal son. He's also, he's also the one that before I moved, it was on the feast of St. Joseph, and we'd always have this really cool kind of dinner, and the whole church would go. It's really beautiful. We're talking, it's kind of toward the end, and everybody's around, it's just the two of us and stuff. And he looks at me and he says this thing. So out of the blue, he goes, Jeremiah, you are a very, very blessed man. And I looked at him thinking, what? He said, everyone here knows it. Everyone who knows you here, they know this. And he just left it at that. There's no, I'm like, well, what comes next? You got something for me? But it was a very moving thing because he's a person that it's one of the rare people that I would lay my life down for, beyond my family and closest to pals. He's
Right.
somebody that I take a bullet for him. He's changed my life multiple times, in fact. And so I have considered reaching out to him and saying, hey, I don't have a foreword to the book. I don't have any kind of introduction. In fact, the acknowledgments are in the back of the book. They're not even in the front.
Right.
So you have to, and I think a lot of people don't see it. They're like, oh, it's over. And you're like, no, you got to go and read the acknowledgments. It's really good.
I read it cover to cover. So I definitely when I finished it, it was like probably 10 o'clock at night. So I was a little tired, but I did read the acknowledgments at the end. And that's when I realized.
He's filling the acknowledgments.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah. Read the back. Read the blurb that he sent. I'll cherish it forever. And by the way, this happened during a time, there were people that came into the chat at the Wolfpack chat that were like, I'm leaving because Phil's, not here. Dude, me and Phil were talking almost every day. He was reading through the book. He was helping to edit the thing. He was giving me suggestions and stuff. I think he was the first guy to actually read the book. I don't think it was anybody else that read it before him. So yeah, what's that blurb, man?
So the blurb says, Jeremiah has a unique poetic writing style, artistically decorated with multicolored stories that only candlelight can appreciate. Amen. And I felt that as I was reading it because I read a lot of it at night.
Yeah. I wrote almost all of it at night. Almost every single part. And, so even like the weird experiences when I was done, I was so happy, but then I realized it was over and that it's kind of like a photo album that you close and there's no new pictures, man. And
I kind of want to read the other comment he sent me because I'm curious about something. I hope he doesn't. Yeah. Okay. No, he already put the comment in the chat, so I'll say it. He wrote, in my opinion, he left the best part out. There was a psychedelic chapter, and he was happy that I read and enjoyed it. But he was asking when I was interviewing you. Well, it's tonight, Phil. But yeah, he said there's some psychedelic chapter you left out.
I got to go back into it. Well, there was one, I don't think I ever completed this, but there was one where I was going to do, where I'm on my walks with the dog. Because that was a very important thing. I was reading Life of the Mind by Father Shaw. I didn't know that it was by a priest when I got it. I thought, oh, it's a book that about people who went to college and now they're older, but they still want to learn. Yeah, kind of. But it's more about, walking with the Lord and stuff. So it was this thing where I was basically losing my mind. I'd go on these walks. I felt like I was split into a million pieces, which was actually going to be the name of the book originally, was Into a Million Pieces. So,
because that's a theme that your daughter kept talking about during the book.
And it's the final words and the acknowledgments.
Yeah.
Is me saying, into a million pieces. But in the chapter that I was going to put in there, I was going to have Coco essentially talking to me. So my dog, St. Bernard, where we're walking, and I was going to have essentially the words of Father Shaw and the words of Belloc in the book and the words of Lewis that were in there, that those things would be coming at me. So I'm grappling with that on these walks with the dog. That might be, but I don't. I'll have to go back because I bet you there's chapters and stories that I forgot along. It took me 4 years or so to write it.
Well, I have to imagine it was almost as hard writing it after you lived it, because it's like your daughter's, like, as you're writing, you're reliving all of these things with your daughter. That has to be one of the hardest things you've ever done.
It was dreadful.
Yeah.
It was dreadful. Well, because it was like a roller coaster, man. I actually had to map it out where I had categories. It was like the happiest, almost ecstatic, to pretty happy, to kind of just flowing, to sad, and kind of sad, and like devastating sad. And it was kind of this up and down. It was a legitimate flow, but so it never dominates for too long. Where it's at, for just crushing sad. Not even a chapter. There's always some kind of relief, except for the She's Beautiful in Blue. There's basically some kind of relief, something charming, especially from Teresa, thumb sucking, and she's always kind of this funny little girl, always delightsome. So to go through all of that, to relive the happiness of imagining Samantha around the side of the door or up in the attic and pretending to be a robot. I loved that. It was hilarious. And we'd really do this back and forth thing, to do pillow blankets, to go on all these great adventures with each other. Sammy Maya was it was a real thing. She was not just my daughter. She went everywhere with me. She was, other than my wife, she was probably my closest friend in the world. She was with me all the time for years and years. So to relive that, not only as a dad, but as a friend. And as, someone who makes mistakes, but as bad as I was, I loved her like crazy. And I would have done it. I broke the law. I straight up broke the law. It's not anymore. It's not the law in Michigan anymore, but I was giving her meds that even the doctor said, don't talk about that. They keep taking Papa's meds, but don't make that a thing, because you could get in real trouble. I said, people don't know what you'd be willing to do as a dad in that situation, man. They just don't know.
But I mean, realistically though, what you did gave your daughter a better lease on life during that time.
Oh, 100%.
Just flat out. As a dad, you would do anything for your kids. You would.
Anything. Yeah, anything. And it's just the nature of the situation. If you love your child, if you hate what's happening and you're trying your best to help them, and you're in a situation where especially life and death is on the line, and a death that could be very painful and prolonged, you don't know how it's going to happen, the kind of paralysis that could happen and other stuff.
Right.
You don't know in that moment. Like I like the scene at Mary Free Bed where I'm giving her the meds and Samantha's telling my wife, he said it could put down an elephant. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, I never said that. And I said a horse. And it was like, what? That doesn't help. And so that conversation and the little conversation with Jana and how that softened the blow, because she was so goofy that Samantha could be goofy and talking about Pop-Tarts and chicken and all this stuff. You're Munchiesaurus Rex. So that was, a lot of fun, where it kind of softened the struggle of that. The stuff about Vegas, I think that I did put that in there. Maybe he's thinking something different. But I am inspired, quite evidently, and I mentioned this in the book, that I'm inspired in part by Hunter S. Thompson and the book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Okay.
In there, I talk about a high watermark. And there's my favorite scene from that. He's reminiscing about stuff and what's going to remain from the Woodstock generation, the hippie people, what's going to happen. That same thing is where the water is coming up on the sands, and the only thing remaining are the rocks that were left there. The storm coming and the rain coming, and there's a high water mark and it's starting to fade. There's that and the scene where I'm coming back from Palm Springs.
When
And
you
I'm
were with your dad?
Yeah, and I'm writing in my journal about Marshall McLuhan and the madness of our age. Was Nietzsche right? This sort of thing, and the graveyard of the gods. Is this real? Where boys aren't boys and girls aren't girls, that sort of stuff. That's actually taken from my journal, and I just wrote it word for word. So I could show people, take pictures of it. You know, I should have done it. So, but things like that. But that comes off, the way I wrote that was kind of trippy a little bit. And kind of gives the feel, almost the wackiness, of a little bit of Hunter S. Thompson. But I'm going to go back, man. Phil's got me thinking. I got to go back now and check it out and see in the different programs I had scribed. That was one. I think it's scribe maybe. No, I don't know. I had a couple different
when the
programs.
hardcover comes out with a big Scott Hahn endorsement on the back.
Yeah, yeah, man. I don't want to jinx myself, but I had somebody recently talk to me about asking if my book is in Spanish, translated in Spanish, and the person that was asking the question, without wanting to give away too much because we haven't talked since then about it. We need to. I'm supposed to call him. Is a company down in South America, Brazil, and they have over 1 million members, paying members. They're part of this ministry down there, asking me if it's been published into Spanish. And their main mission is getting books to people. That's part of the deal. You pay for memberships and you get these really beautiful books. I have some. I wish I could show you. You give it away. So that and that there's that person, that company also owns. They do movies down there. So it's one of their production companies that makes movies. I asked that people would pray. My son every day prays for Samantha's book and Samantha's movie. It's in his head. It's what he calls it. So I'm not banking on that. I don't even want to think like, oh, that's going to really take place. However, I really hope it does one day. I think it would be awesome. I don't know how they would do certain scenes and stuff, but it'd be a trip. It'd be a pretty wild ride.
Yeah, I could totally see, like, with all the different movies I've seen over the years, like, this could easily be put on a big screen. I mean, it would be, and it wouldn't even be like an expensive movie to film. Not necessarily.
Yeah. And with modern use of green screen,
Right,
you'd be able to create. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I like.
They probably wouldn't get the license to do the Doctor Who scenes. I would think that would be difficult.
It would be difficult. I would have to. There'd have to be some serious negotiations with that. But I also think that certain companies would hate to be the ones that don't. That you would say,
with a story
look,
like that, sure.
Yeah, with a story like that, and you'd say it's based on a book, and you go and read it, and you say, this girl was a Whovian, man. She was hardcore Doctor Who.
That's a good point.
Her wish and her dying at cancer moments. And Matt Smith she was supposed to be able to meet Matt Smith. So all of this stuff, and then for them to be like, hey, look, I don't think we should do it. They'd at least probably have something. They would have something similar. They'd say we can subscribe to that much. But having actual Daleks, and I don't know about that. But it'd be interesting. And of course, I'm open to those discussions. If they're like, hey, look, we'll talk to you, sir, I'd say, I will meet you at that table. And I'm sorry, I just realized something. I'm doing this thing like this, back and forth. It's probably sounding all sorts of weird in people's headphones if they got like stereo. It's gonna.
No, I haven't noticed anything strange at all, actually.
Okay, good. Because I've kind of been rocking back and forth. This is other than the interview with Dr. Hahn. I haven't done. Well, I did the interview with Kyle.
Yeah,
and it wasn't an interview. It was kind of a let's play devil's advocate kind of thing.
Yeah.
With the SSPX and stuff. Even if he steelmanned it and he was able to do that, it wouldn't have been a problem. But Kyle's not the steel man of that, believe it or not. So but yeah, other than him, I don't know how long it's been, since I've done an interview. So I was really excited when you asked about it. I was really taken off guard because there was you commented under Kyle's video and you said, man, I'd love to interview that guy sometime.
That was exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I actually goes back further than that. I had messaged you on Twitter forever ago, and I think you had a different account back then, and then you moved kind of more to Instagram, and then I messaged you on Discord. I mean, I have tried to get you on here for a while. I don't know if you realize this. This has been kind of a long time coming.
It's a long time waiting. I'm a hard person to kind of, catch up with sometimes. I'm kind of all over the map, and I like being off the grid. I like normal life. I'm trying to.
Now you got me questioning when I sent you the first message. I'm going to look. I think it was Instagram was the first one. Either that or Discord, one or the other.
Yeah, I have Telegram, Instagram. I didn't use too much, but I did post stuff about like my favorite books. I have a handful of posts about that. So yeah, Instagram. I have Twitter. I still I'll go on there and check stuff. I'm going to share the interviews and stuff that I do, and I'll probably reactivate it, but that's because I can manage it without even going on there. I don't even want to, I don't want to even get on. So I'd like to stay away from any social media platform. I can do that through Go High Level. I've got Go High Level. I get it through Drew the Catholic and his business. And so being able to connect all those things and then just get them out. And I can use my FreeWrite typewriter for that. I have this mega dope Ernest Hemingway Chrome edition. And
do you want to know when the first time I messaged you was? I've got it up here now.
When was it, bro?
May 11th, 2025.
Dude. What did I say? Did I say I'll get back with you?
I said, if you are interested, I would love to get you on the podcast later this year. You said, do you have a time frame and topic in mind? Then I sent you at least 3 or 4 messages before you said, sounds good to me. And then it never happened.
That sounds like me. It is. I can't run from it. Oh, but there are people here who will find this amusing. Both of us pulled Kaiser Standard Time today. we just got talking. Once it was too late, we're like, we were just going to talk. We had a great time in the green room and stuff. But for people who are accustomed to the Kaiser, a couple years ago doing stuff, I was actually prompt.
He was here before I was. Okay,
I was, but he messaged me and I didn't get it because I suck at messages. So and you even texting me you'd have all these messages and you're like, are you still cool with this date? And it would take a couple days. I'm like, yeah. I'd heart it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's enough to get somebody convinced that Jeremiah, is he on board? You got to keep him in the orbit. You got to do it, or you just got to just goes all over the place.
Well, I've been messaging you as I was reading your book, and I was like, "Hey, this part really stuck out to me. This part, I don't know if you like that or not, but I like to kind of discuss things as I read them." So I was like, "Oh, I got the author's message right here. I'll just text him."
I'm glad you read it, man. I've had interviews with people, and I don't like putting anybody on the spot, but I've had interviews with people where they've read most of it. I think that Dr. Hahn was a most of it guy until we talked on the phone the Monday prior to the interview. And at the end of the show, he's laughing hysterically. He's got his awesome laughter. Yeah. And he said, I knew on our phone call, this is going to go for hours and hours and hours. He said, part of me wants it to, But so I think that he, after that, because that conversation was so awesome, it went quite a long time, almost an hour and a half. Believe it or not, I won't say anything about it, but it was strangely, it's almost entirely him. He was really excited. We were talking about topics that he doesn't really get a lot of opportunity to talk about with weird Calvinist people in obscure schools of thought. So it was a lot of fun. But his wife, Kimberly, my wife, Angela, goes to her Bible study that they have they have a beautiful home. I think my kids are going to work on the landscaping this summer with them. The home is absolutely gorgeous, and they have this very beautiful room. I think that the windows might span about 30 feet. And we're talking massive window looking out over the river. It's beautiful stuff. And we've gotten to be, I consider Kimberly a friend. Same with Dr. Hahn, who I will always call Dr. Hahn on shows. I don't feel comfortable saying, "Oh yeah, Scott," blah blah blah. But I consider him a friend, and he considers me a friend. But Kimberly, she told me at the Catholic Creator Conference, she said, "Jeremiah, I have read your book cover to cover, every single word." And she said that it's like profoundly authentic and that it's raw. That you're the way you put yourself out there like that, and the way you invited people into that world. And you mentioned the stuff like the visionary stuff about the stars coming down. That actually wasn't. It's like one of the few things in the book that it's a vision, but it's not. It's I didn't know how to cope, and I was trying originally to write it down like a journalist. Oh yeah, this happened, and then that, and then that. That sucked. That was so terrible. I said, how many times you can say, and then we cried, yada yada. So I was really upset, and I didn't know how to handle it. So I prayed about it. I felt kind of like the Lord was hinting at me, saying, "Look, how'd you feel? If you could just say it." And I said, "I wish the moon would melt. I wish stars would have come out of the sky. I wish there'd be mushroom clouds everywhere, fire and brimstone all around, seeing coxcomb red, foaming at the mouth mad, slamming the wheels with papers flying." I kind of felt like the Lord's like, "Look, I already know that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I already know. So why don't you just do that?" And that was really pivotal because that helped me from that point forward with all the other chapters to paint them as word pictures so that people could really not just see it, but feel it. Waking up in the first chapter, first part where you got smoke in the room and light coming through the blinds and it's crackling on these balloons as I'm smoking weed. I mean, I'm like really high. And I don't know how long I've been there kind of thing. And I'm angry at these balloons that are getting lower and lower and lower as the demon is crouching at my door. That sort of a thing. And that the Song of the Sirens is playing. And if that whole idea that they're drawing you in to say, see what lies beneath, and you're a dead man. They're pulling you under. So I felt like that helped me to frame that. And the chapter, another one that really comes to mind, obviously the roller skating one. Yeah. I thought that transforms from a rinky-dink roller rink in the middle of nowhere, USA, with the tokens and the pepperoni pizza. That all of a sudden that place by the end is like an arena. And people are climbing over the thing and they're screaming, and she hits her foot on the ground, dust comes down, and people can feel it way far away. And then it lit up like Rainbow Road when she's looking up in the reflector, that she sees that when her tears hit the floor, that part of the Rainbow Road goes dark. Those sorts of things. And the last one about the Angela. And people would probably think like, well, what about the She Danced Me a Story chapter? Like that, that's visionary stuff all mixed in with that, tons and tons. But the chapter where we are at the hospital and we're waiting in the morning for the doctor to come in, and there's this kind of blue, it's like that she's beautiful in the morning light. And the way that I described that, and that there was a blue haze in the room. Well, that's a different one, I guess. That's the one where on my birthday. Yeah. Birthdays and biopsies where they're sitting there crinkle, crinkle, crinkle and looking at me like, my daughter and the nurse colluding, conspiring, and falling asleep, and then waking back up and falling asleep, and how there's this blue in the room and stuff, and it's all hazy. I really enjoyed doing that because it actually made it easier for me to do. I wasn't being so strict. I was saying, just let it out, bro. Just say what you saw, say how you felt. And remarkably, those two things typically kind of go together. There's a synchronicity, right?
It makes the scene clear. There's no question how you were feeling or what was going on. It sets the scene in a way that you can't do it. You can't it's a storytelling. It's an aspect of storytelling. You could be like just descriptive of the scene. You could be just descriptive of how you felt, or you could have all of it. And this book had all of it.
I appreciate it, bro. I
And
appreciate it. Yeah.
there was more than once where, you know, you're reading this and you're like, this is not just a story. This is something that happened. And the fact that you're able to kind of melt people out of the world into this, what happened to your family. I mean, it's powerful. I mean, I'm going to be handing this book off to other people to read it. I'm just telling you that right now.
Yeah.
I got
That's
some
the best thing
friends
to do.
I got some friends that I think would appreciate reading this, especially people that deal with death on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to really, I think they're going to, can you say like the story? I don't know how that.
Yeah, that's the word. I mean, people say I love the story.
Yeah.
It's spectacularly unfortunate.
Right. Okay.
It's beautifully tragic, or tragically beautiful. You have these tensions.
Yes.
In this thing, and I tell people, look at the cover. I don't even have a copy with the cover on it. The only one, well, I do. It's all dirty though. I actually have the only copy ever. Oh yeah, you got it right there. So if you look on the cover, if everybody's looking, it's weird, right? I understand that. But on the one side, you have the sun behind clouds that have rain. But you're seeing that golden lining around it. So even if you're in the storm, even when the rain's pouring down, you know on the other side is this rather joyful, weird-looking sun. And on the other side, it's nighttime, and there's a rather sad moon, and it's dark clouds overhead. But above those clouds is a beautiful starry night, and you can see the silver lining from the moon. And the moon light plays a really cool role too in the book, in the Godmother's Sacred Heart. That's another one that I really liked. So, but the idea of that is to demonstrate the tension that I promise people. You're not going to have storm clouds without rays of sunlight, and you're not going to have, you know, gray skies without silver lining of the moon. There's always going to be that balance, because at the end of the day, as weird as it sounds, my neighbor in Grand Rapids, I gave it to her, and she came out. She's kind of a old Southern black lady, right? And she came out and she's like, Jeremiah, she said, this is a feel-good story. She's like, yeah, you didn't tell me it was a feel-good story. I thought it was the weirdest thing to hear. But she said, no, the family's amazing. Your daughter's amazing. We know you. Like, we know where you've gone through this. We saw you in the road. And yet at the end of it all, there's the love and the laughter, right? There's all of this stuff, but you're still walking and dealing with life with an awareness that she's gone. And that's a huge void. It's so big that when Tim Flanders, the editor of 1 Peter 5, a friend of mine, when he read the book, he got halfway through and he said, you know, Jeremiah, I don't know. He said, there seems like it's like two different books. Something's really different. And I said, Samantha's dead. And he just paused and he's like, holy cow. He's like, you feel it. You feel that void and what happens, and you're drawn into the remains. You're drawn into, what are we now? The question I asked early on, who would we be? Where would we go? What would we even do? And so, you know, what would you be if something like that happened? And so that happens, and you're now in that same mind, that you're experiencing that alongside. That's also one of the reasons why I started midway. It's also a cinematic kind of trick with movies and stuff.
Yeah.
Start at midway, and then you make your way through to catch up to the present. And so, yeah, you know, it's painful, but it's charming. It's tragic and dreadful, but it's wondrous. It's delightsome. It is awe-inspiring and hopeful. And at the same time, I'm going to drag you to hell with me. And I do. I drag you to hell with me and say, you're going to cry with me in the dark of the dark of the dark of the abyss here, because if we look up together, there's going to be, we ain't dying here. Okay? She's more than bones in the ground, brother. And we're going to find our way back there. and with the sages along the way, the kids, right? And they're what is it, amulets? What would it be? They're like I give you the amulet of this particular thing. Go on your journey. And so
it's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. And so I think that I hope that people take heart with that. They're going to fear kind of like going into a cold shower. Nobody wants to do that. You're going to get close to it and be like, it might just be better to go warm. Right? But that feeling, that kind of fear of dealing with that, I think that's the kind of thing people sometimes have about the book, because they're going to face mirrors and they're going to face, looking at their kids at night and saying, Jeremiah didn't know. He would have never imagined, what would happen.
Well, yeah, when I finished this book, first thing I did was went and go check on my kids that were sleeping. I mean, that's literally first thing I did.
Yeah, because you love them. And you do the best you can. It's her lesson when she said, people shouldn't get bored. You have this life and you don't know how long it's going to be. And you're around people like your family or your friends and stuff. And so you should do the best you can all the time and love people. And you go, holy cow. So that by the end of your life, when you die, that you're at least surrounded by the people who love you.
100%. Yeah. I will say, I want to give you some props on that the very last chapter of the book, because you really felt the tension break when your kids are talking about, like, maybe there's something more here. What is this Catholicism thing? That chapter on its own, I just felt like broke the tension.
Yeah.
Because going into that chapter, it's like, oh, how is he going to finish this? Like, where is this going?
And it was hard, because once I cleaned up the basement, once I did that and organizing all that stuff and having the wreaths and the garland and the lights and the Christian books at the top and a pile of atheist books out back and stuff, I started changing on things even to do with what the kids watch. I said, I don't want them watching this trash anymore. I want to have wholesome stuff. And I don't know where to find it. So I got out a bunch of the McGee and Me. I got out McGee and Me, bro. I got out the, what was the other? Oh, Buttercream Gang. Phil is a huge fan, not only of the Buttercream Gang, he really loves Rigoletto. It's about singing and stuff. It's one of his favorite movies of all time. But
I'm not going to put that on the screen.
I was trying to find, like, what are we going to do with this, and how do we get it better? So, Little House on the Prairie. So obviously things were changing, but part of me was still stuck in this place. And that's why at the end, where I'm walking out of the church, I'm not there, but I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I think that the last chapter, where it's talking about resolving old scores, like settling scores on the warped chessboard, and going up into that attic that I was afraid to go up into, even some symbolism like the lamp that was on, and asking how long has that light been on. This house could have burned down.
Yeah.
And saying, like, how long is the light of Samantha in a much more holy place, praying like crazy for us? How long has that been going on? Because as a family and as a home, we could have just fallen apart like so many of these families tragically do. So even like the symbolism of things like that were in it, and how the kids change. Now that is true. Now about the chessboard and why can't they leave things alone? I will, however, forever have the I'll forever have the benefit of knowing the exact position of Samantha's final game of chess with me on her phone. And it's funny because I know somebody involved with the, let me see if I can do this here, recommended. So I have a friend, Catholic guy, and he works now, I think he's second in charge there, reached out to me and said, hey, you mind if I see your daughter's like background on stuff like with this. I think he already did anyway. And he told me, he said, honestly, man, he said, she was actually really good for her age. She had a really good rating for that, for chess.com and stuff. So, but that is, you can't change that. My kids ain't going in doing anything to that. So there's no moving the pieces around like they did on the glass one. So, but that idea of like, how does it finally break for me? What do I have to accept? And is it perfect? No, I'm still without her, but I've got a really cool children's song playing in a wind-up pillow, and I've got the smell of incense from Sacred Heart on my clothes, and I think that's the only time in the book where I'm descending, and it's happy. I use those, like there's a scent that goes to something that's like beautiful, even the steps outside the mansion that was kind of like the ladder. Jacob's ladder, and so there's symbolism with that stuff going down into darkness, going down into these things, and I think that may have been the only instance where I'm going down, but I'm entering into something beautiful and grand, and where I am now.
Yeah, I don't have any other specific questions for you at this point. I was hoping we were going to get into some other topics, but your book was, really, we got 2 hours out of just discussing your book at this point. Yeah. So I'll have to bring you back on when I finish reading Enthusiasm for sure.
Oh, yes, please. And, I'm glad we got to at least touch on it a tiny bit. And the influence of that book, The Big Yellow Book, if people would like to be part of the Big Yellow Book Club, we're actually starting back up the book club with the Canine Brigade on Telegram. My son is going to be leading that. He already started a blog. He's going to be blogging twice a month for the .com. We're setting up the store for that right now, PaleoCradDiaries.com. Angela, my wife, she works at Nelson's, so she's part of their printing division. We got the
Nelson, like Thomas Nelson.
Nelson Gifts, like Nelson.
Oh, okay.
So like their material is in basically every Catholic bookstore and information center and gift shop in the United States and Canada. They are huge. They do. My wife gets all these printing jobs every day. She's the main. She runs the whole department. And they did. She recently did stuff for EWTN. They did another order with EWTN. A lot of these big posters and prayer cards and printouts of all different kinds.
Sorry, my brain went immediately to the Thomas Nelson that prints Bibles, and I was like, "What? Really?"
Oh yeah, no.
That's where I was thinking. Sorry,
but we're friends with that family. Angela works with them. I'm friends with the son-in-law. He's an awesome guy. He's part of the 4 Men group in Grand Rapids. We're going to probably start one here as well as in Grand Rapids. He's a really great guy. So, and actually his parents, his mom especially, is a huge fan of the book. She is also a Marshall McLuhan fan, has a game named after Marshall McLuhan. I'm supposed to play this board game with her about how the medium is the message or whatever. And so, but she got all the dimensions necessary for shirts, for booklets, for posters. So we're making posters out of, like, for example, the cover. We're making a poster out of the art piece done by a guy named Yuri. He's presently in the seminary with the FSSP. It's an awesome picture that he did. It's got symbols. Everything in it has to do with Paleocrad Diaries. Everything. It's awesome. And Samantha's at the top, and if you zoom in on it, you have Our Lady on one side, Our Lord on the other, and she has a banner overhead and it says, "Praying for you, Papa." And it's beautiful. We're going to turn that into a poster. We've got a bunch of the thumbnails that we have in Phil used to like those. One of the things that was it was all different styles that I would do, sometimes even almost comic book style stuff. And some of it's just like propaganda art. It's really fun. Kind of graffiti, real pictures and stuff. But we want to work with things like that. Different art pieces people have made. So we have posters, shirts that are going to have that, like Enthusiasm in the Brain, or Verms in the Brain, Enthusiasm in the Veins. We've got Straight to the Dome. That's actually a shirt that we haven't activated the Redbubble into the website yet. So we have to embed that so it doesn't take you elsewhere. It sticks inside our channel, our .com. So, but all of that's being done. So we've got, I think Angela has 5 or 6 new cup designs, and those cup designs can be used for shirts, for sweatshirts, and everything else. So we've got those, and I want to make prayer cards because I feel like we're so accustomed. Like, you go into a Catholic bookstore and you're going to see the same ones everywhere, and it's either this classical, Renaissance, Enlightenment era, medieval art, or it's kind of these fuzzy, not that great, cartoony looking
I know
things. I always think of Saint Patrick, and he's wearing green. He's got his crook, and he's on a green hill somewhere, and it just looks like it doesn't look good. So I thought, well, what if we do like we did for the cover, where we basically take ancient art that's free use and color over it like I did with the cover of my book. Those are real pictures.
Yeah.
And I have a tablet where I'm able to draw over myself. I actually changed the beard into that mustache that I have. Samantha behind me is from another whole different picture. I put her behind me. So there's all these things that I painted over that. It took a while. And if you zoom in on my coat, it's black, but it's got these tiny white dots. There's like a million, dude. It was really hard. I had to zoom in so hard on that and did like little dot, little dot, little dot forever.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to do that with, Saint Sebastian or Saint Agatha or any of these beloved saints and stuff, and go ahead and do that with our style and coloring, saints that you don't see anywhere else, saints that are kind of looked over and stuff oftentimes. So we want to do that with their prayers. We're coming out with a prayer book that we're not going to make it digital. We want it to be physical, and we're going to include methods of hearing mass, because that's been something people they always ask about, as well as indulgence methods that Father Lassance that he has in his guide to young men or young women. That we're going to include that. So it's going to be our favorite prayers from multiple different sources included in there. There's a lot that we're doing, and it's going to be awesome. It's been a lot of work, and it didn't start until since we moved here. I went a long time. I just didn't even want to deal with it. And I feel badly because some of it I'm going to have to kickstart again. But I think if there's anybody who can kickstart that, I think it's me. I think I'm able to do that, man. So we're gonna see if that's just kind of weird bravado or something, or if that's hubris, or if I can do what I've always done. And so we're gonna try really hard with that, give it everything we got, and be happy for what comes our way. Because as long as we're trying our best, all failings and everything else aside, as long as we're trying our best to live up to that motto of never give up, keep on smiling, and remember that one day we too were going to die. And so give it everything you've got. Use your gifts and talents. Don't hide it under a bushel. Rejoice every day and be grateful, because it's the day the Lord's made and He's got a purpose for you. And so get off your rear end and do it. Give it everything you've got. And in the meantime, to align all your thoughts, words, and deeds with the divine constitution of the visible church. Howl in it the sun every day. And so that bundle of awesomeness to say, if we're doing that, man, we're doing good. It doesn't matter if it's 100 or 100,000. It does matter. But we'll give it the same heart no matter what.
Right.
Give it the same heart no matter what. So people, they can look out for that. And lastly, this is self-promotional. All of it is. This part. We're doing Fat Shame to Fitness 2.0.
I did see that post.
I would have done it last Friday, but my voice now is way better. On Friday, I would be talking, and mid-sentence, it would go like completely dry. Yeah, it was almost as though it was embarrassing. It was kind of freaky sounding, and it was just terrible. But I should have told people that ahead of time and just said, hey, we're supposed to do this. So I'm going to get all the material together so that people have printouts. They're going to have things at the private chat if people are interested in that. Fat Shame to Fitness 2.0. It's very simple. It follows a basic structure. I lost a bunch of weight last time. It's all on video. We did private chats and stuff for the group chat. It's private and discreet. And I lost a lot of weight. In fact, Phil was there. Phil and I, we actually had some disagreements over whether or not you're going to lose weight if you don't eat food. Like, obviously, bro. He's like, no. So we got a little disagreement about it. But the idea is basic. You have to relearn something, man. You eat when you're hungry, legitimately hungry. And you eat until you're full, legitimately full. In between that, don't keep spiking your insulin and stuff with a bunch of little snacks or calories or whatever else. Drink some water. Treat it like fasting between meals, legitimately. Treat it like fasting, that you're dedicated to God, that you're going to learn what it means to be full, to be calm, take control of yourself, be able to look at food and not just eat it all, and to be able to, once you've started eating, to be able to slow that bad boy down and say, look, I don't need more than this. And if you mess up, okay, just don't eat until you're hungry again. What am I going to tell you? So it's really easy. You literally don't have to pay for any gear. There's no restrictions. I think I eat candy and cake and ice cream first part of my meal every single time in Fat Shame 1.0. And I gained a bunch of weight, as you can see, because I believe so strongly in the cause. Right? I believe so strongly that for the audience of people to show once again to the entire world, you can do this successfully and make it a lifestyle. I'll keep gaining the weight back, but everybody else. And so, yeah, the vortex of flamboyant. It's so good. I miss you a little bit, Phil. I miss you a little bit. There's probably some qualifiers, maybe, but you're a funny guy, and I'll always love you no matter what, dude. So and yes, dude, the vortex is a lot of fun. But that's something. So if you're kind of fat and you don't want to be fat anymore because it's gross, or you don't like the misshapen thing you're in, you're not out of shape, you're just in a weird funky one that doesn't look so hot. If that's you, you're not alone. There's a lot of us. And if you would like to lose that for real, if you'd like to lose that and to do it in a way that is not ridiculous, there's no gimmicks there, you just wait till you're hungry, man. Like, literally. And if you go to the eat before you're hungry and you know it, that basically that's God saying, you know what? You're supposed to pray right now. You're supposed to pray. And
if you're ever fasting, praying always helps with fasting.
Yes, praying, reading sacred scripture, right? Feasting on the word, right? And saying, and going, relying even on things like communion and saying, like, I eat of the eternal bread. I drink from the waters that never go dry, right? Our thirst is quenched. And to know that you really do have more power than modern world and a lot of the gimmicks and things that we've really fallen for a long time, that has convinced you of. And so if you really want to just become free from all that stuff with the most basic thing in the world, and people who are going through that with you, who understand when you fall, when you mess up, because they probably do too a lot. I don't. No, I'm kidding. All the time. But we will demonstrate this, and it's visible, so people will understand. Like, it is a physical, visual demonstration that this, in fact, is how it works, and that it's as easy as simply doing what God made our bodies to do.
The paleocrat diet.
Yeah, the paleocratic diet. Yeah, the paleo diet. Yeah, we have to make it paleocrat diet. People would be like, isn't that the same thing? You're like, no, it's not. It is not the same. I've thought about doing the paleo diet before, and that way I would at least be able to say, well, no, it's not, but we do that on the thing. I said, come on, man. You know, I get it. Like, that's good, but dude, give me a Reese's peanut butter cup now. Like, I don't want to be dealing with just all that stuff. You know. So I want to thank you, dude.
No. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming
Yeah.
on. Like I said, May 11th, 2025. Tried to get this set up the first time, so glad we finally got to have this chat. And maybe one of these days we'll do one in person, because I am eventually going to get back down to Steubenville, and I'd love to meet you at some point. So,
Dude, the Chateau de Paleocrat, man. You've got to come to the Chateau. And my studio, I host people. You know, I had Dr. Goff here recently and his family. Got like 8 kids and stuff. And he came downstairs. I got my library down here. I got a table down here with chairs all around it where people could either have meetings down here, eat lunch together, but plot and scheme to take over of the world together, whatever it is that they can come down. It's a really cool room. It's really inviting. We used to have a fireplace, but I guess the people before us, it was a big fire, I guess, and they said don't use that. So instead, we've got this huge TV screen. I never really use it because I don't watch TV, but we put stuff on there like if we're coordinating with people or planning and plotting and scheming and all that jazz. So you'd have to, and we have a an in-law suite. So we have a thing actually. Haley, she stayed in the in-law suite when they were here, when she was here for the Catholic Creator Conference. It's a room all to itself. We've got these French doors that divide that from the hallway where all of us are. It's got its own bathroom and tub and everything. So it's very awesome. You have a lot of privacy. So if you're ever here, we'd host you in a heartbeat. No problem.
I appreciate that, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And I always give this one last thing to my guests when I have them on. Do you have any questions for me before we conclude?
Do you have any ambition and any idea of authoring a book of your own?
I do, actually. It's funny that you ask. I've got several in the cooker, I guess, if you want to call it that. But the one that my kids want me to publish is my children's book that's done, and it just needs the art finished.
That's all it needs?
Yeah.
Do you have somebody set up for that?
For the art?
Yeah.
I shopped it around a little bit, didn't get where I wanted yet, so we'll see.
Let's see. I'll talk to some people because our apostolate is going to begin. I've got 3 children's books that we're going to be selling. My friend Chad Lutsky, he's a brilliant writer. He used to write like kind of eerie. It wasn't horror like slasher blood or anything like that. It's kind of unsettling, kind of that unsettling feeling. And he wrote that. Joe Lansdale was a big fan of his. He's been published with Josh Mallerman, who wrote Bird Box, and Stephen King.
I'd be happy to talk to you about the children's book offline if you're interested.
I would 100% because
it's a whole series of stories that I used to tell my kids at bedtime.
Dude, that is awesome. We'll definitely talk. Cause I have artwork of stories that I would tell, like Big Bear Mountain. I've got all these different things that I would draw, and they were based on stories that I would do. And so we'll talk, man. But yes, I'm glad I asked you. I'm glad you offered even to do that, you know? So yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, on that note, Jeremiah will be back when I finish reading Enthusiasm. So now I have a good reason to actually get that done. And we'll have a long chat about why most of these heretical groups started with very traditional leanings. And that should be interesting for anybody who would love to hear about that. But thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I'm going to close this out with the Enoch outro. It's the same as the intro, so whatever. Yeah. But you know what I mean. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I think Wednesday night, my interview with Father Jeremiah Hahn will be dropping. So announcing that first here. And then following that, I forget. Oh, no, I have a football player coming on next Monday. So that'll be fun. Got to make sure that interview is still happening, though. So I'm not going to say what his name is. But on that note, thank you for being here. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Again, we'll see you.